David, a timely conversation coming off of Netflix earnings.
After Netflix yesterday, I should say. Thanks so much, Kay. So it's great to have you back, Michael.
It's a pleasure. It's quite an interesting time.
Yeah, well, especially for Netflix at the moment.
Yes.
They did awfully well, both in subscribers and revenue, besides that WWE deal. It looks right now like they're going a different direction on streaming, a more successful direction than some of the alternatives like Disney Mild Shop, as well as Discovery, Warner Brothers. Is that what's going on?
Well, they amazed everybody by having 12% growth, not only in revenue, but almost the same in terms of subscribers. What's different, though, is they're moving more and more of their subscribers to a tier that includes ads. And their package with that, their sort of standard package is around $15.50. Now they're down to $6.99. And what's fascinating is their average revenue per subscriber is going up while they sell ads. And then they're doing a number of other things. They're actually increasing what the amount they're spending on streaming, and they have shows like Night Agent and Queen Charlotte. They are adding games. They're adding sports. They just completed their WWE deal for Raw that begins next year at the January 2025. So they're taking, 40% of their new subscribers are coming from that ad-supported tier, and others are going to follow.
Well, they're also cracking down on password sharing. Of course, you think about the narrative around the 13.1 million subscribers that they added in the latest data, and it seems like most of that came from password sharing. Is that a playbook that some of these other big streamers are going to follow?
Yeah, we don't know whether it came from limiting password sharing. A lot of it's coming because they're lowering the price through these ad-supported tiers, and as they acquire a new customer. So 40% of their customers have come from this new ad-supported sort of hybrid tier.
Michael, are we going to replicate basically in streaming what we saw in cable? I mean, when you start saying we're going to have advertising supported, that sounds to feel like basic cable used to be. Is it the same thing, except I can get out of it a lot faster?
Well, we're going to, if you think about what basic cable did, is you bought a bundle, whether you watched it or not, and it's of course what drove the success of ESPN and other networks. We're about to see a great rebundling of these streaming services. So right now, Max and Netflix are getting bundled together by Verizon. Verizon has launched a new service called Plus Play. It's $10 a month for those two. And I think right now we're seeing in-company bundles. So Paramount has both Paramount Plus and Showtime. Disney is offering Hulu and Disney Plus, and then also ESPN Plus in that same package. So we are going to see that, but it's going to be a number of years away before we see the kind of profitability we saw in cable.
Well, coming back to the viewer, I can understand why, these streamers would want to bundle and rebundle, et cetera. How much exhaustion is there among the audience, though?
Well, as long as they keep putting on new shows and bringing back older shows. So if you look at Netflix has the new shows I just mentioned, but they're bringing back shows like Suits and others like that. So people are looking at both, and they're not exhausted. And so more today, the majority of the world has shifted, and more television or more video is consumed on streaming services than on television.
Michael, how much of it is the old stuff and how much is the new stuff? I mean, you remember when Bob Iger bought the Fox library, it was thought he really had an advantage because he had such a library, and I think they still do have a remarkable library. Does that give an advantage anymore? Because they seem to be struggling a little bit right now at Disney.
It originally, when all these services launched, it was the library that brought people there, and the originals kept them. It's now flipped the other way. They have to keep producing originals. Of course, people want to go back and see some of the older shows, but it's the originals that are driving people. And as much as each of these companies, apart from Netflix, says they're going to cut back on their spending on programming, they don't have a choice. Compared to Netflix and Amazon Prime, they need all of those new shows in order to not only get you there, but also to keep you there.
I want to talk a little bit more about live sports. Of course, we had the Netflix WWE deal yesterday. A lot of people taken by surprise, especially by the price tag. You think about the live sports audience and people who are watching traditional TV, and you think about the hysteria over the Dolphins-Chief game earlier this month that was on Peacock. My dad was texting me frustrated with actually logging on. How messy is the process of putting live sports onto streaming actually going to be?
Well, first of all, you've got to expect that each of the streaming services is going to have live sports in one way or the other. And it's it's the real messiness is going to be from the perspective of the consumer, because how are they going to know where to find everything? And so I think that's it. And of course, some of these technical details and others will get ironed out. The bigger issue is I, as a sports fan, aren't going to necessarily know where to go, and the sportscasters are going to be different. We're moving into a world where sports is going to be very fragmented.
Can Disney, can Paramount copy from Netflix to get their success?
I think that each of them is going to go a different way. I think in the case of Disney, they're going to become, they already highly reliant on established brands and programming. So if you look at their upcoming, first of all, Wish and Marvel's didn't do well at the box office. There are a lot of people who think we're getting to the end of the Marvel franchises. I don't believe so. But each of them are going to, what they're going to copy is they're already going to add supported tiers, and they are going to continue to produce programming. I don't care what they say, they don't have a choice.
Michael, I have to say I've never seen a Marvel movie. I don't think I ever
Really?
will. It's just
Wow.
never grabbed me. Let's switch gears pretty dramatically here, because I want to talk about the metaverse. I was looking through your notes. You wrote that there are over 300 million active users in major virtual world platforms. That number shocked me. Can we actually define what the metaverse is? Where are those 300 million people?
Well, there are these immersive worlds like Roblox or Minecraft or Fortnite, and some of these people are spending enormous amounts of their lives. The difference between those being games and versus metaverse is that people, they can build themselves inside of these games. They have social interactions. You can go there and not play the game, but you can hang out with your friends or you can meet new people. There's real economies inside of those games. So as much as Metaverse was very hot last year, people talked about it. Now people have said AI is killing the metaverse. It's actually the opposite. AI makes it much easier for you to have a place in the metaverse, for you to create an avatar that's photorealistic, for you to find your friends. So it may not be that on the tip of everyone's tongues today, and actually the hype cycle is pretty much over. But when you look at any of the technology hype cycles, it's usually at the bottom where real investment continues.
Just for a moment here at the end, we tend to think about it in terms of gaming, at least some of us of a certain age. What about more concrete applications in the business community?
Well, I mean, I think we're going to see, when we talk about spatial computing, the Apple headset and others, we're going to see that's going to have real enterprise applications. So, for example, the HoloLens from Microsoft, that's something more, you put it on and you're there to repair an aircraft engine, not just to have fun, or you're there looking inside of a machine. So we're going to see more and more of that. And there are industrial metaverses. There are worlds where people are going to use that in order to practice operating on a patient or repairing a car.